I'm calling it now. The final season of Outer Banks could be hiding its biggest twist in plain sight. Season 4 ended with JJ Maybank seemingly gone for good, leaving Kiara and the rest of the Pogues completely shattered. Everything we've been told since then has pointed toward a revenge-driven final chapter, with the Pogues hunting down Chandler Groff and trying to survive one last impossible adventure. But then the final trailer introduced one detail that changes the entire story. The Blue Crown isn't just another legendary treasure. According to the trailer, its mythology includes the ability to bring the dead back. And suddenly, the question isn't simply whether the Pogues will get revenge for JJ. The real question is whether they're trying to get the crown because they believe they can bring him back. Think about how strange that would be if JJ's death were completely permanent. The final season is already centered around the Blue Crown, the exact object that is supposedly capable of reversing death. That means the writers have created a direct connection between the season's main objective and the biggest tragedy from Season 4. The Pogues aren't just chasing treasure anymore. They could be chasing their best friend. Kiara especially has every reason to refuse to accept that JJ is gone, and if she discovers even a small chance that the crown's legend is real, there's no way she would simply walk away. That would give her character an entirely different motivation for the final season. Revenge might be what she says she wants, but bringing JJ home could be what she actually wants more than anything. And this is where things get really interesting. Rudy Panko has previously indicated that his regular run on the show ended with Season 4, which seems like the biggest argument against a JJ comeback. But there's an important difference between not returning as a regular cast member and never appearing again. A character can return through a flashback, a dream, a vision, a short sequence, or even a scene filmed separately from the main production. If the writers wanted to keep JJ's return completely secret, they wouldn't need Rudy around for the entire production. They would only need enough footage for the moment they wanted to reveal. And for a show that knows how aggressively fans analyze every behind-the-scenes photo and filming location, keeping a major surprise hidden would obviously require a completely different strategy. There's also the way the marketing has been handled. The final season has been presented as a story about grief and revenge, but the resurrection mythology suddenly gives that grief another possible direction. If the writers wanted the audience to believe JJ was permanently gone, why introduce a supernatural legend capable of undoing death during the final season? Maybe it's simply a story about accepting that some losses can't be reversed. That would actually make the crown a powerful symbol of the Pogues learning to let go. But there's another possibility, and honestly, it's the one that would create the biggest reaction. The crown actually works. Imagine how that finale could play out. The Pogues spend the entire season believing they're chasing Groff because they want justice for JJ. They fight the Corsairs, survive impossible situations, and risk everything to recover the Blue Crown. But as the story progresses, we discover that revenge was never the entire plan. Their real objective has been hidden underneath it. They want to use the crown to undo the moment that destroyed them. That would completely reframe the season. Every conversation about JJ would suddenly carry a second meaning. Every sacrifice would become part of a larger mission. And the final confrontation wouldn't just determine who gets the crown. It could determine whether the Pogues get their friend back. Of course, there's a major problem with this theory. Outer Banks could absolutely be setting up the resurrection legend just to destroy our hopes. The writers could make the Pogues believe that JJ can return, only for them to discover that the legend was misunderstood or that bringing someone back comes with a price they aren't willing to pay. That would give the final season a much darker emotional message. Instead of showing that love can conquer death, the story could be about realizing that no amount of treasure, revenge, or desperation can undo what happened. Kiara would then have to finally accept JJ's death rather than spend the entire season trying to reverse it. But if the writers really wanted to deliver the most shocking possible ending, bringing JJ back would make almost too much sense. The entire emotional history of the Pogues revolves around their friendship, and JJ was one of the characters who defined that group. Losing him permanently changes the identity of the show. Bringing him back in the final moments would give the series one last emotional payoff after everything the characters have endured, and it wouldn't even need to happen early in the season. In fact, the longer they keep JJ away, the more powerful the reveal becomes. That's why I think we should pay close attention to every single scene in the final season involving the Blue Crown. If characters start talking more specifically about its powers, if Kiara becomes obsessed with the legend, or if the Pogues suddenly stop talking about revenge and start talking about saving someone, that could be the confirmation we've been waiting for. Even small details could matter, because the show has already established that its biggest twists can be hidden inside seemingly harmless moments. And there's one more thing that makes this theory impossible to ignore. The show has a history of making characters appear completely finished before finding a way to bring them back into the story. That doesn't automatically mean JJ survived, but it does tell us that Outer Banks has never been afraid of playing with the audience's expectations when it comes to death. So when the final season introduces an artifact specifically connected to resurrection immediately after the death of one of its most important characters, it's fair to wonder whether the writers are preparing something much bigger than a simple revenge story. So right now, I think there are two possible endings. In the first, the Pogues recover the Blue Crown, discover that its legendary power is either fake or impossible to use, and finally accept that JJ is gone. It would be heartbreaking, but it would give the characters genuine closure. The second possibility is much crazier. The crown is real, the legend is true, and after an entire season of believing they're fighting for revenge, the Pogues finally accomplish what nobody thought was possible. JJ Maybank returns. And if that happens, the final minutes of Outer Banks could become one of the most unforgettable moments in the entire series. Because the writers wouldn't just be bringing back a character. They would be reversing the single event that changed the Pogues forever. They would be revealing that the revenge story we were watching was actually a rescue mission hiding in plain sight. Until the show officially confirms what happens, JJ's return is still only a theory. But one thing is certain, the Blue Crown has given the writers a very convenient door back into the story. The only question left is whether they're actually planning to open it.